This video is for anyone who struggles with low libido, who is confused by how libido works, and for anyone who would love to increase it. This is particularly for couples who struggle with mismatched libidos, with different levels of desire for sexual contact. So, if you would love to learn more about what causes low libido and how you can cultivate a strong and healthy libido for yourself, keep watching. Hi, my name is Helena Anista and I make videos that help you have the best sex of your life, and today we're discussing how to boost your libido to a satisfying level. A lot of couples that come to see me for sessions complain of different levels of libido. One person wants sex more and the other one wants it less, and this results in a conflict. The person with a higher level of libido ends up feeling rejected, sexually frustrated, and resentful, while their partner, the person with the lower libido, typically feels inadequate, confused, or even pressured to have sex. The resulting sexual contact is usually unsatisfying to both. The person who is more keen gets sex that lacks passion, joy, and enthusiasm, while the other person just wants to get it over with. And both become stuck in a cycle of sex that is disconnected, unfulfilling, and usually infrequent. And the first thing to do in order to address low libido is to understand what libido actually is and how it works. Please understand that libido is not a thing that you either have or don't. It's neither something that just moves up and down independently of your wishes, or that leaves you stuck with some sort of desire level that is inadequate for your relationship and for your life. Healthy libido is something that you consciously cultivate, and we'll get to how you do that in a moment. We typically base our idea of a good libido level on the early days in a relationship. That time when we just can't get enough of each other, and it's easy to be horny and up for sex almost all the time. But when you think about it, when you first fall for someone, there are a lot of components that keep supporting and cultivating that high level of libido. There's a lot of novelty there in this new person. We feel a lot of interest in them. We feel excitement. We pay them a lot of attention. We think about them. We fantasize about them when we're not together. And all these things are great for high libido. There's also a lot of separation and anticipation there. Being separate, spending a lot of time apart from each other builds passion, and anticipation means that we're doing a lot of planning and preparing to see them. There are usually many days before we see this person again, so we miss them, and when we finally get together, we can't wait to rip each other's clothes off. And none of that is spontaneous. It's planned, awaited, anticipated, and fantasized about. As opposed to being together in a committed relationship where we see each other often, we usually live together, and life's duties and responsibilities get in the way of our passion and sexual interest in each other. You see how these are two very different situations here? We want sex to be hot, passionate, and spontaneous in a long-term relationship, but we're not doing that much to keep that flame going. We also don't realize that while yes, there are things that can boost our libido levels, more on that in a moment, there are also things that actively reduce and inhibit it. Things like poor body image, past trauma, negative messages about sex and nudity that you grow up with, stress, fatigue, poor health, problems in your life and in your relationship. All of that and more is negatively impacting your libido level. In many cases, what also reduces our sex drive is simply bad sex that we're having. If sex that you're experiencing in your relationship is not very pleasurable or satisfying, you probably won't desire it much. And the harder we try to feel lusty and horny, the more tricky it becomes. It's just like trying to have an orgasm. The harder you try, the more you can't get there. It's similar with libido. We want to feel passionate lust for each other so much that we start to judge the experience that we're actually having as not good enough. And that can create even more frustration. We also often confuse libido with arousal. We think that we're meant to feel the physiological engorgement, the genitally based lust for each other, often and spontaneously. But we don't. We're not meant to feel horny all the time. We're not all 15-year-old boys. For a huge majority of people, actual touch and stimulation is needed for that first. So we often don't realize that there are actually two types of arousal: genital arousal and psychological arousal. It's something that's particularly very common among women. We can feel psychologically aroused. That's the desire based in our heart and in our head. We love our partner and desire for that love to be expressed through physical intimacy. But that doesn't necessarily mean that our genitals are swelling and lubricating all at the same time. As life goes on, we get busy and we put our priorities in all sorts of places. Family, work, hobbies, projects for the future. And that's fine. Sex isn't on our minds all the time the way it used to be in the beginning. And that's normal and natural. Please don't think that you're meant to keep feeling lustful desire for your partner on a daily basis. That's a myth, and a very dangerous myth that is likely negatively impacting on your experience of your relationship and your intimacy with your partner. Whenever that spontaneous arousal actually happens for you, enjoy, good on you. But in your everyday life together, focus on consciously creating and cultivating the kind of intimacy and sexual connection that you both desire. First of all, ask yourself what kind of sex you actually want and desire. What does great sex mean to you? What does it look like? What exactly happens? How often is it? Etc. This is something that partners should definitely work on together, so make sure to have regular conversations with your lover on what good sex is and how both of you can co-create it. Whenever we're frustrated about the quality of our sex life, it's often because we have certain ideas in our heads about what should happen. My partner should initiate more. We should have sex multiple times each week. I should feel arousal more often and more easily. We should both orgasm and ideally at the same time, etc. Ditch all of these ideas and simply focus on having pleasure. Don't let your brain dictate what should happen and how. Listen to your body and follow its desires. Remember the early days when you were still dating each other and prepare a hot date. Schedule the time that works for both of you and prepare for it. You might decide to dress up and go out or dress up and stay in. You might share a bath and a glass of wine or play a board game together as a sexy foreplay. You might cook together a delicious meal, or you might go for a walk before heading home for a sexy massage that you give your partner or that they give to you. Do your best to be fully present with each other, to leave your work, stress and fatigue behind. Also, remove any distractions if possible so that you can give each other your undivided attention. Hot, passionate connection is something that you decide to have. So decide, at least on a weekly basis, to date and prioritize each other and your connection. If you're struggling with poor body image, you don't want your partner to see you naked, or you have had any sexual trauma in the past, or you grew up with a lot of negative conditioning around sex, find the best way to address it. You might need to start seeing a therapist, or read some educational material on good sex, or open up to a good friend about how you're feeling, or address your health issues, stress, fatigue, etc. I think that opening up to your partner about any issues, worries, or insecurities about sex is a particularly good idea. That level of vulnerability will feed and nurture your connection and your intimacy. Plus, you'll be able to look for the best solutions and ways forward together. Low libido in a relationship is not a huge issue. It's quite normal and natural considering the demands of the modern life. So commit to making your intimate connection a priority and work together towards a goal of a more fun, exciting and satisfying connection in the bedroom. And if you'd like to learn some amazing, beautiful and incredibly effective intimate techniques and practices from the tantric tradition, make sure to check out my online course, Tantric Sex for Couples. It's a fantastic program for any couple who would love much more passion, connection and playfulness in the bedroom and outside of it. I put the link to the course in the description below, together with a very yummy discount code. I really hope that this helps and that you've learned a thing or two about boosting low libido today. Please don't forget to leave me a like and a comment below to let me know if low libido is something that you've experienced in your life at one time or another. Thank you so much for being here and for all of your support for my channel. I wish you an amazing, magical and very pleasurable day. And I'll see you next time.